Joining us for some immediate insight is West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder. Debbie, thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Tyler. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you on, as this is the biggest news in the world. It's shocking for many across the globe, including here in the state of Michigan and in the greater West Bloomfield area. And for us, it's especially jarring because we've had our primaries in the state of Michigan for the presidential elections. People have made their choices. For the Republican ticket, they chose Donald Trump. For the Democratic ticket, they chose Joe Biden. But now that Democratic candidate is deciding he is dropping out of the race. How may that affect our ballots come November?
Well, at this point, the ballots have not been ordered, and the ballots are ordered through the county. So as it looks immediately, there won't be a significant concern or effect on the ballots. Hopefully they'll have something in place in time to go ahead and order those ballots. Now, as I'm watching this morning and actually heard on the stories yesterday morning, the discussion about legal challenges to that change being made. And depending on how it goes through the legal system, I guess there's a possibility that there could be delays that would affect ballot ordering. I hope not, because there's enough work right now for clerks' offices without that kind of a stressor at it. But at this point, it won't really affect us because the ballots will hopefully be in place in time to order for the November election. If it was on the August ballot, that would be a different story. But the August ballot does not include the presidential race. That was in February for the presidential primary. And the one for August does not include president at all. Although we did already get a phone call this morning from somebody who thought they needed to spoil their ballot. So I imagine that our phones will be ringing with some people who do have questions. But in the immediate future, I don't see it having an effect depending on these legal challenges and how they proceed down the road.
Yeah, and especially considering as we get toward that November general election, which will be the next and the only election going forward in 2024 that will have presidential politics on it at this time. We know the Democratic National Convention is still several weeks away, August 19th through the 22nd, where that party will make their official decision on who to nominate for president and vice president. Now, in terms of the process, Debbie, you mentioned Oakland County is what determines the ballots and sends those out then to the local communities for their elections during all of these election cycles, including the November election. So how does that process work to get those ballots to us in West Bloomfield and the greater West Bloomfield area from the county? Give us some insight on that.
So it's actually the county orders them. We give them the ballot quantity, and it's based on, they actually provide one ballot per registered voter. And so the ballots are actually sent to us from the PSI, which is the company that prints them. And one year I had to actually go down there and get the ballots. And it is a huge warehouse full of ballots arranged for every municipality. I'm not sure if they do every single municipality, but they clearly do many. But the county does take care of ordering the ballots for this election and for the general. So they order them. They get delivered, though, directly from the printing company to West Bloomfield Township.
A little bit of insight into how our ballots get to us here, whether you vote in person at your precinct or you're voting by absentee ballot in November. Debbie, on that topic, we still got a primary for the state of Michigan coming up in August that affects many local issues here, and especially those local ballots for positions in greater West Bloomfield and beyond. And we know, speaking of absentee ballots, 1.5 million ballots plus were ordered across the state of Michigan, according to reports earlier on this month. Here in West Bloomfield, give us a little insight into that process too. How much of our community is voting by absentee or has at least requested some of those ballots?
Okay, so I am going to back up just a second before we go forward on that.
Sure.
The one additional type of voting that we do have in place now is early voting. So in addition to absentee voting and voting in your precinct on election day, you do have the ability now to vote to vote early at the West Bloomfield Library, and that will be for West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, and Sylvan Lake residents. And they can come to the West Bloomfield Library to the early voting center put together by Oakland County. And our Oakland County clerk did do the local clerks a huge favor in offering that early voting center. It cuts our costs tremendously. It becomes a shared expense and in terms of time as well. with other local municipalities. So that will take place at the West Bloomfield Township Library beginning this Saturday coming up. This Saturday morning, it'll be Saturday, Sunday, the Monday through Friday, and then the following Saturday, Sunday, daily from 8:30 to 4:30, and on Thursdays, noon to 8. So that is another way to exercise your right to vote. And you are also able to bring your absentee ballot now to either your early voting center or your precinct on election day and turn it into a precinct day ballot. Now, why is that of benefit? Well, if you were to vote your absentee ballot and you voted as an absentee, an example in this election, you might cross over and vote. This election, you have to stay in one lane by one
Right.
party, except on the partisan section, or it spoils the partisan section. Well, if you vote that ballot in your early voting center or in your precinct, and it kicks it back to you if you made a mistake and allows you to spoil it and get a new one. If you were to vote it as an absentee ballot, there's no voter there to correct it, so it would get cast as is, spoiling the partisan part. So that's I just wanted to make sure that people knew that they had that option now to go to early voting in that center and to bring their absentee ballot. Right now, we have about 15,400 ballots, absentee ballots out. And I'm just looking, we have 4,627 absentee ballots in. So we do anticipate that those will come in quicker. We hope they don't all come in on election day because there's a lot of work on the back end. When the ballot comes in, we do have to scan it into the qualified voter file, verify the signature, and it goes through a check-in process before it is delivered to the absent voter counting board for tabulation. So we hope they don't all arrive on election day. But we do anticipate that there'll be a significant turnout on, that would choose to vote by absentee. We have always been a higher absentee community where the turnout on our absentee voting is higher. However, since Proposal 3 of 2018, which allowed people the right to vote absentee for no reason, we have seen an uptick, as well as during COVID when people did choose to vote by absentee ballot, we saw more of an uptick. Now, we did see some going back to voting in the precinct. Typically, people liked whichever way they voted, but we did see a lot of people partake more of absentee voting. This election, it's hard to say. When I look at numbers going back, this is going to be a new year now that we have early voting and the permanent ballot. It's going to change. I have numbers and statistics. They were very predictable before this year. This is going to be a year for new metrics based on where we see that early voting draw from and the permanent ballot. Is it going to draw from our precinct voter? Is it going to draw from our absentee voter? We just don't know yet. I can tell you in the May election, which was a very small school district election, and small elections always have a higher turnout based on by absentee ballot, but we saw 93% of those votes cast by absentee ballot. So I don't think we're going to be there. I think we'll probably be in the 55% range that will vote by absentee ballot, somewhere between 55 and 60%. But if I come to you after and say I was off, I hope you'll forgive me, because this will be the year to set new metrics.
Always some new trends being set by our voters with
Yeah.
these many options available to them, including early voting beginning Saturday, July 27th, and running through Sunday, August 4th, across the greater West Bloomfield community and beyond. Debbie, thank you so much for your time. We need to get going.
Thank you, Tyler. You have a great day. Thank you.